Public be heard, Randy Steele.
Well, I was going to talk to the brick wall over there because I felt it would be more productive than my last couple of times before this town board. But the brick wall doesn't go up high enough to actually speak to, so I guess I'm stuck talking to the town board. I can't be more upset and feeling more discriminated against when I read all of these proposals that this town board is going to be debating tonight or talking about passing, where it says, where it is the policy of the town not to discriminate against any individual person or group on the basis of disability with the intent of the town board, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's happening right now. It's happened since Kathy Magarelli and Bill McKenna have been in charge of the project of the community center. The ad hoc committee for the TV station since the very beginning of this project said it wanted a separate and distinct and separate key entrance. Okay, they got that. But at the expense of who and what? At the expense of a disabled person who's been a producer since 2011 there, that never had a step up to get into the TV station, now has to go through what is actually a fire trap to be stuck in there if there happens to be a fire anywhere in the building, having to go through the main room to get out. Also, there's a ramp. This has been expressed to me by both the people from the Center for Accessible Living in Kingston and Senator Gillibrand's office and the ADA under the Veterans Administration, telling me that they're very concerned about the fact that you have to enter by a ramp through a stage on the side of the stage where there could be another event involved. I can't believe the insensitivity of Bill McKenna and of Kathy Magarelli just to shrug their shoulders all the time. Jeremy, by the way, welcome back, Jeremy. Hopefully this town board will be more. Hopefully this town board will be more productive with you back than it's been without it. But these two people sitting on either side of you just look at me with this quizzical look, saying, duh, when the fact of the matter is the steps that are even being put in there are being put in without even so much as a banister for a disabled person to be able to get up to that TV studio. The TV studio needs a separate ramp, and I guess my dinner's ready. I hope I don't puke.
Are you speaking or no?
Okay, I will be speaking now.
Okay, because you didn't sign up, Alicia, so you want me to put you on here? Spend that time with
To the same issue, I'd like to also add that we were led to believe that, well, at the very first of the outside plans, the very first plans for that community center, the TV station would have not only separate entrance, but there was supposed to be an elevator out there, which was going to be outside. But then that was going to be rather expensive, and I was even against the elevator from the standpoint that it would be maintenance and expense, and a ramp is so much simpler and it's reliable. But now all of a sudden that's disappeared, and I see there's these wide steps, these grand wide steps where you go 3-4 steps up into the community center, no banister. There's nice railings around the porches to each place out there, whether it's the side door, the front door, the TV station door, the very back door, and no banisters. Some people can get upstairs, but with a little help. It also feels much more secure having at least one banister on each of those walks. None of that is there. So thank you.
Thank you. That's my already.
That's it.
That's it. Jay, you had an announcement? Oh, let me say something first. If you don't mind. Yes, I've been away for a little while. Real pleasure to be back. I want to thank the town board, my deputy, for muddling along here without me. We realize there were quite some tasks that you would accomplish, some controversies that you have to face. And thank you for the hard work you did. Jackie, I thank you and your office for covering for mine as much as you did. I thank all the employees of our town for not taking advantage and getting away with murder. No, I'm only kidding. I know you wouldn't. But I'm really impressed by the resilience of our institution, of our organization here. Everything just seems to function fine without me. I even doubted as to whether or not it's necessary I come back. But here I am, for better or for worse. But I did want to send my thanks also to those that I just mentioned. Also, there's many of you who sent me cards of condolence and wishes for a speedy recovery. I thank you for that. So that's it. Thank you. Jay, you have something to say?
Yeah, we have a single speed bump in lane now. And I just want to put this on the public record that I would like to have on the agenda for next week a discussion and a vote about placing the other two in the road as we, the board, had originally decided some time ago. The other thing that I'd like to say is that this board has been, has had a collegial aspect to it, a wonderful collegial aspect to it for a long, long time. Very occasionally, in my experience, it has, I've had a problem. And since we live in a civilized society, I felt it was important for me to say that I was hurt, upset by a couple of things that have happened, and only in order to let people know. And the first thing was at our last town board meeting, when I had proposed that we have a discussion about the possibility of combining two different resolutions on the smart meters. Now, you may be surprised to hear this, but I'm a big boy, I'm an adult. I can deal with and accept failures, defeat, whatever. And in that case, the board, everybody on the board, supported my interest in doing that. However, what was hurtful to me was that in the denying, the three board members, none of them looked at me. To me, I had the idea that maybe there was some shame involved. But in the future, please give me the pleasure of looking at me when there is a vote for or against. I can deal with one thing, but I don't like the other. And the second issue on that same page was that the day after this last town board meeting in June, Kathy had called Steve Romine, one of the founders of the People, and he told me that you told him that there was a possibility of a combination of work on a combining of the two things. And what bothered me was that you didn't tell me, you might have called me and said, hey, there's some possible interest in this. That didn't happen. And it's, for whatever, it may bother you guys, but it's important to me to be notified and to be considered and to be looked at, and I hope that goes down in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing, Jay, not to laugh, because there I was involved. In the previous things I wasn't. But Kathy probably found out the same way you did, that is to say, from Mr. Romine, because it was myself who reached out to Mr. Romine with that idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I didn't consult with anyone on the board with respect to that. Now, as it turned out, that whole thing was mooted, because apparently the resolution that they had involved with their petition was the resolution that you had advanced to the town board, which was adopted.
Right.
And so it seemed disingenuous to replace that resolution with the so-called combined. That I was unaware at that time that I reached out to Mr. Romine, but my guess is, and I don't know, but my guess is that Kathy found out exactly the same way that you did.
Well, I don't know, and I don't want to continue to make a big shtick about this, and I don't want to blame anybody unnecessarily. If I have already, I apologize for that. Steve of mine notified me that Kathy had notified him.
We had a long conversation about the two resolutions, and, certain things transpired, and I wasn't sure which way we were going to go. I knew where you stood. I didn't think there was any new information for you because it was all the same information, and I just had a long conversation with her.
Yeah, well, again, and for finality, I think, I would have appreciated being informed that this idea had even popped up. And I wasn't, and I was upset about that, and I've said it, and that's the end of the story.
But Jay, now you called out on bad behavior, you know what I mean? You're calling us out on bad behavior, and then you say that's the end of it. That's not fair. And I will tell you, hold on, now I have the table. You found out about the same time Kathy did that Jeremy was making these overtures about combining. There was no secrets kept from you. You found out at the same time. You found out before I did.
Well, is that...
And I'm not ready, I don't have a fuss about that. The other thing is, you talk about us being shameful. I'll be honest with you, Jay, I was embarrassed when you brought that resolution to the table because you had 6 weeks to combine a resolution. Kathy and Ken offered a resolution. At this table, I ran that meeting and said, guys, get together and come back with a resolution. Kathy and Ken sat down and worked on a resolution and brought it back to the table. You chose not to, and that's fine, that's your right. But there was plenty of time for you three to come up with something, and you didn't. And then you come back and you offer a resolution to combine the two without any specifics at all. And we were done with it. We had 2 resolutions already. I think it's a little unfair for you to call us out on that. And you shouldn't have brought it to the table.
What happened too was, that weekend I was very busy. You and I were trying to get together, and I was trying to get together with you and Ken. Ken and I did some conversing. We came up with stuff online. I even said to you, let's try and do it online because we haven't had a chance to meet. And the next thing I know, a day later, I find out you have a whole new resolution, and you never even told me.
There was no new resolution.
Well, but you had put forth their resolution, and I was supposed to meet with you and come up with a compromise, and you just went ahead and accepted theirs and proposed it, and I was like, he didn't even tell me. So, when you say, we didn't tell you, I felt pretty slighted that weekend because we were trying to come up with something that the 3 of us agreed on, and all of a sudden, Ken and I had worked, and you and I couldn't connect somehow, and then all of a sudden, you're accepting their resolution and never got back to me. So we have worked both ways.
And quite frankly,
When you're done,
no, you go ahead.
I mean, I think it's kind of water
Can
under
I
the
interject
bridge
something
now.
right here, please?
It's water under the bridge now.
Because I think we've got some business before us.
Let's finish.
None of us here are masters of process. Let's face it, none of us here are masters of process. So maybe somebody did something and they didn't inform everybody of this or that and blah, blah, blah. But the work was done, the work was accomplished. The constituents are satisfied ultimately with the actions of the town board. Why don't we just move on?
well, the one possible answer to that is yes. Another possible answer to it is when there is animosity, when there are unfulfilled desires and interests, and when there are complaints that are maybe out in left field, that's something worth working on. And several of these complaints from Bill and one from Kathy are, in my mind, out in left field.
So let's all endeavor to do that.
Let's all go to right field and shake hands.
Why not?
So we have a topic here, building project. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Ken.
Sorry. Just want to announce that Solarize Woodstock, which is a program endorsed by the Environmental Commission, held their kickoff meeting last night in Town Hall. It was a packed house, standing room only. Very successful meeting. I have to say the acoustics were wonderful. Didn't need a microphone. You could hear from the beginning, from the front of the room right to the back, extremely clearly. This is being led by Transition Woodstock, which is leading the effort with the help of Catskill Mountain Keeper and Sustainable Hudson. There are a couple of vendors there to present their proposals, and Melissa Everett from Sustainable Hudson. But the idea is that they're putting together a program so people can, essentially, a group of people in Woodstock can do bulk purchases of solar energy and get a better deal. And this will go on for a couple of months. I've announced that Woodstock is carbon neutral and that we've met the requirements of the 2007 zero carbon resolution. I've sent out reports on this, we've given presentations at the library, issued press releases, so it's probably in the process now of having other people look at it and respond to it. But I think we're in good stead as far as meeting the requirements of that resolution. Going back to the previous topic of the analog meter resolutions, the town sent 3 resolutions to the PSC. One of the town's resolutions has been posted on the PSC website, and that's the one endorsing the New York Utilities Consumer Protection Act. Jane Kelly, who asked for sent resolution number 1 in support of her petition, and that has also been posted to the New York PSC website. I haven't seen anything about resolution number 2 yet, and I don't know where that is.
That went out on Thursday, Jackie?
Yes.
We were waiting for Steve to get.
Yes, I got it.
So that went out.
They signed for it, I
just
got
on
the
Thursday.
card back.
So it,
They
may
got
just be in process if it's
They got it.
maybe delayed. Jane did talk with Bo Cahill's office and Amador's office and said they agreed to support her petition at the New York State PSC. But I think that the point is that the ball is now in the PSC court. There's nothing much else we can do, but it's up to the PSC, and there's a regular process for submitting stuff to the PSC. I submitted my resignation to the supervisor as the town board liaison to the Woodstock Land Conservancy. I think that probably deserves a little explanation. I started my active involvement in the land conservancy, in the Como property, when the Como Advisory Committee was created. And that was after the proposal for the highway garage on the Como was withdrawn, and the town board established this committee under Marge Farnett with really a question of, well, now what do we do and how do we protect it and what's the best way? And over a long period of time, this is the committee that came up with the easement. And we had a referendum for the easement, and we had a lawsuit on the easement, and then we had the development of the stewardship plan, and then the stewardship plan, the requirements of the stewardship plan that had to be developed. And last week or last month, we finally submitted the last legal requirement of this entire arc of activities when we submitted to the WLC the detailed plans on how to manage the Como. So since been involved for so long, began with the development of the easement, and now essentially the activities to meet the requirements of the easement are over, I thought this was a good time to drop out and withdraw. The future of the Como property will now be managed by the detailed management plans that the CSAC and the group have put together, so it'll become a different emphasis and different approach.
Well, thanks for all the time you did that.
I didn't even want to look up when I started this. How many years it's been. When you go back through the records, and you see these battles and lawsuits and letters, and it's just...
We're on the other side.
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to join the Como veterans, people like the group that worked with Valcat and to actually purchase the property, and the original TPAC committee, and the group that worked against the highway garage being on the Como property. So I'll become one of those veterans. So still active, still involved, and still very supportive of the Como, but not being quite as upfront as has been in the past.
Can we give you a golden doggy bag?
Empty.
Empty.
Yeah, please.
So that's all I have for announcements.
Well, let me ask, as long as you've, is anybody interested in being a liaison for the land conservancy? You don't have to answer right now, but if you will, let me know. Okay. Any more announcements?
No, this is go on to the building rental.
Okay.
What is it?
Kathy and Bill, at my request, along with the town clerk, have made a proposal, and remind everybody it is a proposal as far as policies and fees for the use of our town buildings. And what we will do is we will put this proposal up on the town's website and have a discussion about it at our meeting next week. So if Bill, Kathy, Jackie, if you just want to say a few words on the topic, feel free.
No, I think we did our task, just wait to collect this feedback from the rest of the board.
Just to give everybody a little perspective on this, it's a cold way of looking at this issue, but not including the utilities for the building, just the bonding. You're paying $348 a day for that building.
I'm sorry, how much?
$348.
Dollars a day?
Yep.
Well, we can make that up in building
There
rentals,
you
just
go.
raise that.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
We spent, quite a few meetings going over things and trying not to, we increased the prices a little bit, but tried to keep it very reasonable because this is a community center and we want the community to be able to use the building. So, we spent a bit of time at Jeremy's request, looking everything over. I think people should, if they have feedback, come next week, read it online, come next week and make your suggestions, and then the board will have a week to look it over, and we can discuss it next week and see what we end up with the final product. We have a lot of people who want to rent the building already, and Jackie's been kind of holding them back, saying, we don't know what the fees are yet, but we're close. We're close to a final decision on the fees and special rates for, people putting on a long-term show, et cetera, et cetera. So, right now, that's where we're at, and I just what you don't want to know, since a lot of people want to use the building already, and signing up for it. But one thing I thought was excellent about the building is when you're in the back room behind the stage and you close the doors, they have the nail gun going in the front room, and it's pretty quiet back there with those doors in that back room. So we will be able to use the back room separately from the front room, as long as the nail gun isn't shooting off.
When we started planning the layout and design years ago, we looked at having a building where we could have multiple uses. So at this point, we do have the station, the room in the back, and the room in the front. So we did look at it that way, that you could either rent A or B or both together. So that's where we came up with a split rental fee.
And I know we've gotten some proposed needs from various groups, and you might want to maybe relook at that and see if there's part of that time you need the building, you could just use the small section in the back as opposed to the stage and the whole front section. It's less expensive to use the back, and it is pretty quiet back there, and it would allow for, the people to use and groups to use the back and still have the front available. So you might want to look at that if you're submitting something to us, when you can use the back room as opposed to the entire room, the front and the stage, etc.
Yeah, okay, Kathy, a quick question. We were talking about chairs earlier. Is there a plan to put chairs in the back part? So if people are renting the back part, can they expect to have chairs and tables that they would have to, set up and then put away? Or would the chairs and tables only be in the main part?
Well, there's a storage room for the chairs, and so a lot of the chairs will be stored on these dollies, and the table, we bought one of those, we purchased one of those big racks that you put the tables on. I'm not exactly sure.
But will they be residing? Because I think that the ramp that we were talking about earlier, there's the main room, and as you go up the stage area, there's the ramp, and I think you would need that ramp to get to the back area. So is all that stuff stored in the back area, or is it stored in the
No, the front.
The front is the storage, but we have it decided, I mean, there's room in the dressing rooms to possibly put a few chairs, I mean, there's options.
I imagine that we would be storing a few of the tables and chairs back
They're
there.
back there. Okay.
Because there's room in the janitor's closet, the dressing room, so yeah, we haven't decided, but we did order the chairs. And the tables and the dollies and the table racks. All kinds.
Okay, should we do some business?
Yes.
Okay, whereas the town of Woodstock has negotiated with the Rural Preservation Company for the purpose of obtaining a water line easement over the lands having the Woodstock Commons affordable housing project land, whereas a water line over these lands will increase the efficiency of the municipal water system, whereas a proposed easement to form Annex Tier 2 has been prepared, granting an easement for the town to conduct a water line over these lands, whereas the town has not yet been charged for the granting of the easement, whereas it is believed to be beneficial for the town to accept the easement, now therefore be resolved the town of Woodstock accept the easement as proposed, and be further resolved to authorize the supervisor not to take all necessary steps to complete the acquisition of the easement.
Second.
In favor?
Question about this.
Yes.
Part of the permit process for Rockville required that we redo the water district, the boundaries of the water district.
Yes.
That's simple stuff.
Just-
Actually, I think the map is one.
It's sort of-
I understood. I thought this was sort of an impediment. We had to get this done before we move forward with that. Is
No,
that correct?
no, there's not one thing we have to do before the other, no.
Okay.
And Jeremy, did you mean to skip the first two items?
Oh, yes, I did. I went right to the big meaty ones. Big designs were forward to the Woodstock Land Conservancy for its review plans for the kiosk on the corner of Potter Building. All in favor?
Don't they want to present any plans to us?
Did you guys want to present?
They do.
They do? Oh,
They
present
do.
it.
We can just take our 2 minutes.
Can I present, also?
Yes, sure. We put together our application. I'm Jeff Leomo, representing the Criminal Stewardship Advisory Committee. Jim Henson. Thank you, Ken, for all your time. On this.
You guys deserve a lot of thanks, and you have a future.
I'm coming in late. on this
Did
project.
I get nothing? Oops.
I just got a couple pictures. I'm really not going too crazy here. Just so you see what we've been looking at. Can you see that okay?
It's really
I can look at some, I think. As a group, we've been, looking at what our tasks were here, sort of getting the last bit of information to you about the best practices has sort of left us to now how do we educate the public about the place. And we put together a brochure, we've done trail markings, we've done a fair amount of stuff, but there's still a whole educational piece that we need to get out to the public so that they know how to use this place, how to reserve this place, what's allowed, what isn't allowed. And over the last year or so, we've sort of been poking around the Catskills looking to see for designs, because you could certainly just put up a quick poster board and that's that. Certainly what we have out at the gate right now with pamphlets stuck in little wooden boxes, and things tacked on the gate isn't appropriate for this property. So this is down at the West Traps trailhead. Grace was good enough to find this for us. I went and visited yesterday just because I wanted to see it too. Jim's been down there. It's very fitting for the property. In the application, the only changes we've are hoping to make is instead of this sort of this stonework at the bottom, not the bluestone cap, but the stonework on the bottom. This isn't appropriate for this property. Everything's bluestone around here. We should just make it out of bluestone. Lauren Rose has been interested in helping us put this together. I'll show you just a couple other pictures of it. It's basically 3-sided. It's got some interesting architectural features that we really see. So lots of rectangles out there, 2-sided things. This has got some interest to it. The other thing that we're probably going to change is, see if I've got a better picture of, this is my daughter and I down there yesterday. I had to get her in the picture. Some of this ironwork that attaches the wood to the stone, we're probably going to rethink how we're going to do that. It looks just a little too coarse. Some of the bolts are hanging out of it. But there's going to be 6 panels that are fairly large that can describe what we're doing up here, elements of the town. Certainly one of the areas we thought about seriously is having one of the panels be something that can be changeable
There's different things in there about current events. Certainly the Shakespeare folks would like to have their events in there. I got to put my plug in here. This is what they feel is appropriate down the Mohawk Preserve. I like the way they talk about observing our trail etiquette policy. I won't say much more about that, but it is one of my issues with how this place is being run right now. This is one of their just flyers on stuff that's going on, educational opportunities, current ones, and it's really built nicely. Lauren said there's no problem putting something together like this. They actually dedicated a plaque on one of the pieces of bluestone cap, and the people who have been down there on rainy days feel it's really great because there's enough coverage. They can sit on the stone, look at their phone, look at a map, and I think the folks that have gone down and take a look at it feel it's pretty appropriate for the siting over around the corner of the Great Lawn in the edge of the woods. So what you have in front of you is the application checklist that we put together as a committee over the last few years, and now we're using it for our own project here, as is appropriate. Just do things here, we follow the protocol. And I guess at this point, you guys have already said go for it, so it's going off the Land Conservancy, and I guess our biggest challenge will be to find some money, because I understand that the town right now doesn't have funds to put toward this project at all, so hopefully we'll cut some luck. Well, I paid a rag check too, but that's how it's going.
We've got about 1,500 in our trust account, and Lauren estimates there's a lot of labor that's going to be free, a lot of the materials we're going to be able to get donated or at a lesser price. He estimates the total price we can probably get it done for $3,000.
Wow.
So we're only 1,500 short. So it's not a whole lot of money for a town like Woodstock, a fundraising letter or a small benefit or something. We're pretty sure we'll do it, so you don't have to go up your 2% from the taxes to pay for it.
So there you have it. Any questions about all this stuff?
Can I ask you this? Do
Sure.
you guys have any idea who you would think that you would pay tribute to with this? I said with the
No,
plaque?
actually, I just saw that
Whoever
yesterday.
gives us the 1,500.
There you go.
I hold out for more. They want a plaque.
But that might be something the committee might want to think about if you're going to, pay tribute to somebody up here.
Well, I started getting some estimates from folk around here for doing the stonework and that kind of stuff, and I thought it'd be appropriate to put something on there, time, materials donated by, thank you very much.
Right.
But it's good for biz, start getting back to Woodstock. The next project, we try to rebuild some of these stone walls. That would look really nice.
Well, it would.
I think that's all I got, the pictures, they're there.
Good job.
Thank you. That was easy doing it.
He's the only one that'll let the TV.
Just look at it. That's the problem, but you don't have to turn it off, it turns off on its own. Thank you for passing that along.
Thank
What their responses are.
Very much. Sure, thanks, Jim.
So, do you have the plan to forward to the Land Conservancy, or somebody
I
else
do,
does?
it's somewhere
Okay,
in
so
the
tomorrow?
office,
Okay.
I had sent emailed a package of all of this information to everybody here
Yes.
last week. I don't know whether everybody received it.
Mine, there was nothing on mine.
Uh,
That's why I printed it out the best I could from Terry, that's why you got it all. I couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, Terry Funk after told me that she didn't get it. I don't know why, because it didn't come back, blah, blah, blah.
I got your email, I just didn't get any attachments to it. There was
Yeah,
nothing
well,
attached to it.
I had the whole thing there. In any event, clearly, somebody's going to have to step forward and carry this to the Woodstock Land Conservancy. But even more importantly, I think for the moment, the town does not have the funds to make any contributions to this time. I hope that interested citizens in Woodstock or from far away, because all kinds of people come here, will see fit to make contributions and get this wonderful project completed.
And as long as we made that point, I'd like to brought up the issue of money and the scarcity of money. I want to talk about this for a moment. Scarcity of money, first of all, has absolutely nothing to do with a community center project. I had a conversation yesterday with a gentleman who called me and asked me how much were the overruns. And I had to tell him, I'm sorry, there are no overruns. I mean, he just stood on the phone for 10 minutes, he couldn't believe it. He says, everybody says there's overruns. There are no overruns in the project. The project itself will probably have, not a huge balance, but it will probably have a balance at the end of this. It will have a balance at the end of the day. So that is not what's driving the temporary period of poverty. What's driving it is primarily the revenue that was projected for this year. And as far as the revenue is concerned, primarily the mortgage tax, which came in far lower. We budgeted $220,000. Based on the first check, we were probably going to fall short somewhere in the area of maybe $45,000 in that projection. Now, I think we're still going to be able to squeak through the end of the year with what we have. I've already communicated to department heads. Just wherever you can save a nickel, please save a nickel. So I'm not worried about us getting through the end of the year being okay. However, we do have to be frugal. Another reason for this frugality is because of you know how I all feel about the tax cap law. As I've said many, many times, I think it's one of the most destructive laws that have ever been adopted by the state legislature. But anyway, we have been compliant. The town did submit an efficiency plan. If the efficiency plan is accepted, and I expect it to, we will be, so long as we submit a budget this year that meets the tax cap, the taxpayers of the town of Woodstock, will sometime before the 2016 election, 16, not this year, the 2016 election, will get a handsome check anywhere between $7 and $22 from the governor of the state of New York. So that will be our reward. We're compliant with the tax. Anyway, the 2016 budget is going to be probably the most difficult in the next 3 years as far as being compliant with the tax cap legislation. I will, of course, by October 5, have to present a budget to the town board for its consideration. I'm going into it with the spirit of maintaining the tax cap. And the town board, when we look at what all that means, can make up its mind as to whether or not that check anywhere from $7 to $22 is all that worthwhile. But anyway, the 2016 budget will be interesting. If we can squeeze a little bit of surplus out of the 2015 budget, it's only going to help that situation. So again, it's just that we really have to count on nickels and we rub them together before we give them up. But again, I just want to emphasize, this has nothing to do with the project, with the community center project. It's entirely off the operating budget line, and it's its own separate fund, and it will have a surplus. So, next. Whereas the town of Woodstock is a sub-recipient receiving New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, CDBG-VR funds, as administered by the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, GOSF, of New York State Housing Trust Fund Corporation, HTFC, to assist in addressing unmet needs from either Hurricane Irene, Tropical Storm, and New York Superstorm Sandy. And whereas participation in the New York State CDBG-DR program requires the adoption and implementation of an affirmative action plan to meet the Equal Employment Opportunity EEO requirements of Executive Order 11246 and other program policies. And as the purpose of this plan is to prohibit workplace employment discrimination on the basis of age, race, color, religion, gender, creed, national origin, physical or mental disability, marital status, veteran status, disabled veteran status, or status as a member of any other protected group or activity. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board, by the Woodstock Town Board, that the attached affirmative action plan is hereby officially adopted for implementation in the town of Woodstock's New York State CDBG-DR program. Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, okay, we'll do that now.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Be it resolved to raise the road opening bond security from $750 to $1,000 effective July 15, 2015. All in favor?
Aye.
So, Jackie, this part, the affirmative action plan,
Yeah,
okay, we don't have to read this into the record,
thank you.
but we have to put it into the record.
So you just have to type,
No, I just copied it.
cut and paste.
Okay. And by the way, I'll need that resolution certified.
Okay.
The same thing with this one. Whereas Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in programs and activities conducted by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, or by grantees that receive financial assistance from HUD, and whereas Part 8 of Title 24 of the Code of Federal Regulations 24 CFR requires adoption of grievance procedures to address complaints of those who feel that they have been discriminated against on the basis of disability, and also requires the provision of notice of said grievance procedures, and whereas it is the policy of the town of Woodstock not to discriminate against any individual, person, or group on the basis of disability, and the intent of the town board to address any complaints that may arise pursuant to Section 504. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Woodstock does hereby adopt by resolution internal grievance procedures and procedure, providing for a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints alleging any action prohibited by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services regulations implementing the Act, and be it further resolved that the town board does hereby designate the town supervisor as the grievance coordinator, who shall be responsible for receiving and addressing complaints pursuant to the procedure adopted hereby and attached hereto, and be it finally resolved that the town of Woodstock will place its employee, the public, the potential beneficiaries of certain federal public programs on notice by undertaking certain actions that will include but may not be limited to: 1, providing a copy of the grievance procedure to its employees; 2, putting the public on notice by placing the notice in the town of Woodstock's official newspaper, posting of notices in the town of Woodstock's offices and facilities, placing notices in the town of Woodstock's publications and/or distribution of memoranda or other written communications subsequent to adoption of this procedure; 3, placing copies of the procedure in the town hall for review and dissemination; and 4, adding language to federal program brochures to ensure all potential program beneficiaries are aware of the town of Woodstock's adopted grievance procedure. All in favor?
Aye.
And again, Jackie, this doesn't have to be read, but to be entered into the public record. Doesn't have to be read into the record, but should be put into the record.
Jeremy, I'd like to file a grievance right now
Okay, good.
regarding the community center.
Okay. Be it resolved to waive fees for use of the town hall by the Woodstock Comedy Festival, a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation that donates its net profits to victims of human trafficking in Polaris and domestic violence family Woodstock for September 18, 19, and 20.
Second.
On favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I don't know if you all have this, it came in late, but I would like to be it resolved to appoint a supervisor and councilman mechanic to the negotiating team for CWA police labor agreements. All in favor?
Aye.
That is our business. Anything else?
Well, one thing I forgot to mention is that we were going to have a visit by a couple of the candidates for the Woodstock Library Board, who would like to introduce
Oh,
themselves.
they would? Oh, goodness
To the
gracious.
town board.
Everybody got their tomatoes? Come on up and introduce yourselves.
Okay. Hi, I'm George Finsruth.
George, how are you? Thank you again for the great work you've done for us.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Twice.
Is there anyone here I don't know? I don't know.
for drinks.
Well, maybe a little bit. Hi,
Mr. Nice to meet you.
Did we ever meet John?
Maybe, or Ricky. We must have some point. Hi, George. Good to meet you again.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Would you like to say
Thank you
something
for
to
running
us?
for the
or-
library board.
Well, what's to say? We're looking for workability in the library, on the board, and it's my perception that the people who are associated with the library actually want to get something done. So my intention is to actually facilitate that, to make that happen.
When is the vote?
When?
September 3rd, I think.
September 3rd. Yes.
At the library.
At the library, first Thursday.
Put that on the books.
I think the hours are what, 12 to 9?
Sounds about right.
That sounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
September 3rd, for the flood.
You can have an absentee ballot.
And we're both on the outreach committee also, so we're working already to help with that community. Great.
And we're interested in people's input as far as what they would like to see at the library. And we're in a whole other time and space, and there's so many other possibilities that the Woodstock Library could provide. So we're definitely interested in hearing from everyone.
Would it be unfair to ask where you guys are about the potential for the annex or the idea for the building in the back?
Well, I can only speak from my own personal preference. My preference would be to, number one, take a laundromat down, right? And use that for a staging area for whatever renovations are needed for the main building, in terms of expansion. And then have it revert back to a garden, maybe with a pagoda, right? People have talked about maybe having a small fountain or a waterfall to just attenuate the sound from the traffic coming by.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of possibilities,
Well,
yeah.
the CSAC kiosk,
I'm sorry?
a piece of business we discussed earlier.
Oh, okay.
I support the recommendations of the Facilities Task Force, which worked very hard for 6 months
Yeah.
and decided that for a number of reasons that are documented, building across the street should not be the first priority. If there's any expansion, it should be on the library side of the street.
Now, I vote for taking down the laundromat. I'm tired of looking at that.
It's 3.5 years.
Is there any value to the idea of more park? I mean, I wouldn't want to, I like your idea of making it pretty, but can there be parking as well as being pretty?
Absolutely, yeah.
We don't think there can be more than there is now, but we want to preserve what there is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I should just fess up right now that I've been designated the leader of the Save the Laundromat.
Oh.
And then- and then
I'm sorry, I just didn't.
We'll save it for a while.
It's always been there.
He was hung out to dry.
It's a traditional one.
No, I told this story several times, but when we were kids and we used to come down from Shady into town, we'd hitchhike in, and by the time we were leaving town, it was very late, and there were very few cars on the road after 10 o'clock in those days. And on a winter night, it was just cold. So sometimes, we just decided we'd go to the laundromat, which was open all night, and you put a dime in the dryer, and you let it warm up, and you got in, and you fell asleep. And after about a half hour or so, it would get cold, and you get out, and all you have to do is close the door, and that same dime would warm it up again, and you climb in, and so I have very fond recollections. So
Well,
I can see why you would want to say.
I think,
I was
there's
very
times
eager to accept this role.
for selling off sections of the library for sentimental reasons.
Yes.
A little relic.
If I could just have one of those drives.
There you go.
Is there
That's sure
anything in
to be
there? Is
worked
there a dryer we can have?
No, there's a lot of mold.
Okay.
And just by chance, last night, I was reading an essay by an author, Robertson Baker. And he wrote one of these essays about libraries and some of the problems that they have. And there were details in there that I had no prior thoughts about, like getting rid of books or not. First editions, last editions, there's a great deal of problem in terms of the space and what you get rid of and what you don't. And particularly, he was talking about the growth of online electronic services that seem to be, in his opinion, pushing out the hard print stuff, whether it's books, magazines, newspapers, or whatever, because their financial considerations, it's cheaper to have the online electronic versions than the books or the magazines and newspapers. And in any event, this was all brand new to me last night, and I'm just curious whether you guys have any thoughts
Well,
about.
that's a great idea. I mean, what you're proposing, it really comes down to warehousing books, right? For using the space for that particular purpose, or using it for, for people, right? For people and programs that the library could actually offer, right? So, I mean, personally, I don't think it's a great idea to spend a lot of money just to warehouse books, right? At the same conditions that people need, right? And people need conditioned space, right? And books don't, right? So maybe there could be some kind of provision, because everything that's in print isn't necessarily online, right? And it probably never will be, right? So how do you store books and periodicals and that, newspapers and that kind of thing, and make it available for people, but not, at tremendous expense, right? Right, I mean, it seems to me, New York Public Library is looking at storing their collection in Princeton, New Jersey, right, in a warehouse with, some kind of a shuttle service, so that when researchers come in and request a book, there's a shuttle that actually will pick up the book and bring it to the library and make it available. So I'm not saying that's necessarily what's needed here, but it's something to consider, where do you put this stuff, right? I mean, digital copies of books don't take up any space at all, right? Or at least not as much space as...
But there's
hard
a
to-
difference.
There is a different experience, a totally different experience, right? And I get that. Yeah.
Well, you started out by saying you're going to ask what people want, which is a great idea in this case. Do they want electronic, do they want hard copy? Depending on what your demographic is that wants the hard copy, would point you to what you want to get, I would think.
We just came from an outreach meeting and we had a discussion about a possible survey.
Right, yeah.
Some people think it's a good idea, some don't, but
Well, and it's a my opinion, not based on any research, is that there may be a generational thing. The younger generation is online all the time, and buying books that they are interested in might not be worthwhile to do. But people of a different generation like the hard
Right.
copy feel. So
Right.
if you do survey, and you
Yeah.
can target where your purchases go.
The article, the essay I was reading that prompted all of this in my mind last night, is that it's more than a generational issue, as I understood the essay.
Yeah.
In that online productions do not necessarily carry all of the information, like photographs and data, backup stuff and so forth, that the print editions have. So it's...
No, it's very clear. I mean, my inquiry is into the actual cost of warehousing the books, I mean, we have this Mid-Hudson Library system where you can put in a request for a book and pretty much get it within, say, 48 hours, right? Now, a lot of people don't realize that the Woodstock Library can get virtually any book from around the world, right? So if you're a scholar or a researcher, you need a specific book that's located, say, in California or Sweden, the library can actually get that book for you. Right? It might take like 6 or 7 days, but you can have that book in your hand for years. Right? Now, those books need to be stored someplace, right? And to spend $300 to $400 a square foot for book storage seems a little silly sometimes. When you look at the numbers. Right? But the question is like where to store it. So I mean that's part of the inquiry. In terms of the library's expansion. I mean, do we focus on storing the books, or do we focus on programs for people?
Too complicated, all we do here is cook the books.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And move to
I have one quick
sorry?
announcement that I didn't make earlier. A gentleman came in earlier today to the town clerk's office, a member of the men's softball league, is it men's?
Yeah, men's Sunday softball league.
Right, and they play roughly from 9:30, 10 o'clock till noon, and I guess they're really looking for some new blood, some new people to come out there, having a hard time fielding both teams. So if anybody's interested, go play on Sunday.
Yeah, I play.
Do you
I play? Yeah, that's true.
Is it exclusively men? I thought women played.
No,
too.
it opened to everyone.
Yeah, that's what I
Opened
thought.
up.
Yeah.
That's, well, that's
This
why.
is Gordon's game, right? Isn't that the?
I think, yes, it is. I think Gordon is retired, did I hear?
Oh, was it Gordon? Because he played last year a lot, but he hasn't played this year yet,
I
so.
think he's on his jersey out. But, so Nick, if you have an opportunity to add a little something in the paper, a little plug, that would be nice. Now you can-
Yeah, since you won't throw us any other softballs.
Yeah.
Move to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry,
I have a
yes.
question. Leah Adams, Secretary to the Board for Performing Arts of Woodstock.
Yes,
There have been some emails flying around about training individuals to use the sound system and
Yes.
the light system.
Friday, I believe.
We were given a name, Rich Cook from
I
Markertech.
think it's David.
David Cook.
David Cook, okay, excuse me. He only deals with sound.
Yes,
Who is the contact for lights?
we don't have one
Aha.
I sent an email back saying that, you know, we have the lighting grid up, but we're waiting for a donation for the lights. Someone's donating some lighting,
Okay,
but we haven't set anything up for that yet.
okay,
yet.
and
Do you
so-
have an expert light person in your organization?
Of course,
Well, then send them to us.
absolutely.
Have them call me, and I will put them to our clerk of the works, Charles Wesson. That would be wonderful, they would help us get the lights
Okay.
out.
It's Richard Ralph, he's been our.
He's the same
Oh,
gentleman.
St. John's coming to take the sound thing with us, yes, great.
Is it RAIFF?
RALFF.
Okay, because on one of the emails it looked like an I.
Great, terrific.
Okay, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
Adjourned. Okay? Say that?